In this lesson on Eyes of the World by the Grateful Dead, you will learn that intro part that I just played, the chords to the verse and the choruses, and how to solo over the jam section for all skill levels, whether you're a beginner, intermediate, or advanced player. So let's start out with that intro part. It's very important that you understand triads before attacking this. That way you can apply some meaning to what's going on here. So this first triad is an E major 7 triad. Kind of looks like a staircase here. You got the 13th fret of the G string, 12th fret of the B string, 11th fret of the high E string. That's your first one. Then you're going to this A major triad, which basically looks like a D chord, but you're just sliding it up so that your ring finger's on the 10th fret. And then you're playing this E major triad. That just looks like this. It comes from that chord shape. Those are your triads. Now, they sound like this when you play them in succession. Right, it's as simple as that. The mechanics around the strumming and then getting to each of these triads are a little bit tricky, so I've created some digital tablature for this section and put it in a link in the description so you can play along with it, slow it down, loop it, and just use it as a tool for getting this intro section down. Now, I mentioned that triads are very important to understand, not only just so that you can recognize exactly where these come from, but so that you can move it around, you can solo with them, and just generally break up these bigger chord shapes into smaller groupings of notes that you can use for not only rhythm playing, but lead as well. Now, I have a ton of lessons on triads, whether they're major or minor triads, in Tough Club. I highly recommend checking out the cage system and how the triads relate to the cage system if you aren't familiar with that yet. I've got them all organized in Tough Club, so if you'd like, you can check it out. Tough Club is my online jam band guitar course and community that you can kind of think about like a jam band guitar school, with hundreds of lessons, dozens of exclusive tabs, and endless Grateful Dead, Fish, Billy Strings, and Allman Brothers mini lessons. You can click the link in the description to start for free. All right, let's move on to the chords. So we're gonna start with the verse. The very first chord in the verse is an E major 7 chord. Obviously, this is kind of a non-traditional chord shape. You're just taking this basic bar chord and putting your middle finger on the G string. If you're unfamiliar with that shape or you want to know how to do it in more depth, I have a lesson called Major 7 Chords in Tough Club. You can check that out. First chord, E major 7. Then you got an A major, back to the E major 7, before this part. Now, this little riff is basically entirely taking place in E major pentatonic. You're going to slide from the 9th to the 11th fret on the A string, then play the 9th fret on the D and the G string, then 8th fret on the G string, then 11 to 9 on the D string. Then you got a B minor to an A, back to the E major 7, back to the A, E major 7, B minor, A. Now is your pre-chorus. A, C sharp minor, B, back to the A. C sharp minor, B, D, to an A. Now you got E major 7, A major, E major 7. And now you got A, C, and that goes into the chorus. Obviously, there are a ton of chord changes there. I highly recommend rewinding this video and just practicing that section over and over again. I have the chords on the screen so you can look at them as you go. Also in Tough Club, I have a lesson recap where you can just view all of these chords as is. But that's what the verse chords are. Practice it multiple times. Just make sure you get them down. There's one change when you get to the second and third verse in this song where they don't play the C sharp minor to the B the second time. But if you just play along with the recording, you'll be able to hear it. There's nothing else added that is new. Now, for the chorus, we're coming from this part. That's the A to the C. Now we're just gonna have a handful of G's and C's and then a few D's before we go back into a jam section. But coming out of this, you got a G, to a C, to a G, C, One more time. Now C, C sharp, D. Down to a C. To a G. Up to a C. One more time. Now you got C, C sharp, D, and then to go back into the jam, B minor, A. So the only thing worth noting in that chorus is that you have this chromatic movement from C to C sharp to D major. It's really just chromatics. That just means that you're taking one thing and moving it up one fret at a time, whether that's a single note or a whole chord like this. So we're going C, C sharp, D major. That's it. That's the entire rhythm section for this song. There are two jam sections, of which the chord progressions differ very slightly. The first one is just an E major 7 to a B minor. And the second one is the same thing, but there's an A major at the very end there. E major 7, B minor, A major. And that's it. So we're going to choose that progression that I just played, the E major 7 to B minor to A, as the focus for the soloing approaches, because there are more chords, it's the more complex of the two, and anything that you learn there, you can apply back to the first jam. We're going to go through the beginner, intermediate, and advanced approaches for soloing over this jam section, starting with the beginner approach. For you beginners, you're just going to play an E major pentatonic. Nothing else to it, you're just going to be right here. Right? And if you don't understand that shape, check out the lesson in Tough Club titled Intro to Soloing that will show you how to make this shape. The goal here is just to play around and get comfortable with the pentatonic scale. If you know any of these extensions, so, you know, the one down here, or the one up here, feel free to use those. The one trick that I'll tell you is that over the B minor chord, which is the second chord, this note will sound good to play. That's the 11th fret of the G string. Right, so maybe you can just target that and get a sense for what playing with chord tones sounds like. This is what my beginner approach would sound like. For the intermediates, we're going to make that a little bit more complicated. We're going to stick in the same area, but use your knowledge of the mixolydian, the major scale, and triads. The progression, to reiterate, is an E major 7, then a B minor, then an A. Now those three chords together do not point to a single key. E major 7, that has this E flat or D sharp in it, and B minor has a D. So when you're playing over the E major 7, you have to play an E major, and then when it switches to the B minor, you switch to E mixolydian. If you aren't familiar with the mixolydian, you can probably guess that I have a lesson in Tough Club on it. It's called the Mixolydian, an overview of the major scale. Highly recommend checking that out, coming back to this video. So you want to think about two things: switching from E major to E mixolydian when that B minor comes in, and then switch back when that E major 7 comes in again. But also, play with some triads. So if you know the major 7 triads, you can use those. If you want to just use E major triads, you can do those too. But ideally, you'd be able to hit this 7th note over the E major chord. When it then switches to the B minor, you can use this triad right here. When it switches to the A, you can use this one right here. These all fall within this G-shaped E major scale, or E mixolydian scale. Now you're just going to use those, plus your understanding of the mixolydian and the major scale, to create a cohesive solo that follows the chord changes but still has that melodic integrity to it. This is what my intermediate approach would sound like. For the advanced players, you are just going to take that exact concept, so triads, arpeggios for each of the chords, and alternating between E major over that E major 7 chord and E mixolydian over the B minor and the A, and you're going to play that across all 5 positions on the neck. Now, this could mean playing across a single string, this could mean literally every single one of those positions. However you want to do it, you want to be able to access the entire neck and accurately address each of the chord changes via triads and arpeggios. The other thing I'll challenge you to do is learn one of the studio solos to Eyes of the World by ear. I learned these and they were incredibly difficult because they're super fast, but it's a great demonstration of what you can play over this song, and also kind of like a tasteful solo that still rambles on and, you know, has a million different notes in it. So it's a good thing to look at. It's a good test for your ear if you're interested in checking that out. Now, for all skill levels, the backing track for improvising over this can be found in Tough Club. You can access Tough Club by clicking the link in the description, and if you're not a member right now, you can start entirely for free for the next week and check out everything that it has to offer. Once you get in the community, you will be greeted by a questionnaire that will tell you exactly which lessons and solos and mini lessons to complete to achieve your goals. And if you ever get confused on what to learn next, you can consult Ripple, Tough Club's brand new on-demand coach. With endless libraries of guitar lessons for all skill levels, exclusive tablature, and mini lessons, you'll never feel yourself plateau with Tough Club material. And if you're interested in private coaching from me directly, you can apply for the weekly mentor plan by clicking the link in the description. Come join the 500 plus other guitarists in Tough Club. Otherwise, subscribe, and I'll see you in the next lesson.